Okay, everybody, thank you for attending this evening on this overcast Monday evening. We are starting as close to 7 p.m. as possible. The webinar will be approximately 70 minutes long. If you want to ask a question during the presentation, type the question into the Q&A function, okay, not the chat function, the Q&A function, just for clarity's purposes. The presenter will give participants an opportunity to engage throughout also. All other interactions should be typed in the chat function, okay? So all other interactions do not go in the Q&A, they go in the chat. If you cannot hear or speak at any stage, we advise you to leave the webinar and then join back in via the same link, okay? So we will get started. So this forms part of our coach education webinar series that we undertook in the Ladies Gaelic Football Association in response to a huge demand that was created for coach education in response to the COVID pandemic crisis that we were experiencing. It's been hugely successful with absolutely thousands and thousands of people being involved in the delivery and reception of all of our webinars so far. I've delivered a couple myself and they are extremely enjoyable, and we're reaching more people than ever. It's a new medium, I suppose, that we haven't had the chance to use before. So I'm really excited about this evening. Just to give you a flavour of what's upcoming in our webinar series as well. On the 6th of July at 7 p.m, we have Coaching the Tackle in Ladies Gaelic Football, which is a coach education webinar, and will be very useful for coaches in understanding how the tackle works in Ladies Gaelic Football. We had a good bit of demand in terms of people looking for clarity in how to tackle in ladies football through our registration for this webinar, but Coaching the Tackle was already a webinar that was in the calendar already, so just keep your eyes out for that. The registration link is on our website, so if you go on there you can register through ladiesgaelic.ie. Then on the 20th of July at 7 p.m. we have Coaching the Teenage Player, and then on the 23rd at 7 p.m. we have First to Final Kick Club Participation Pathway. That's myself again, so if you're not sick of me by the end of this evening, you can certainly come back on the 23rd and you can log in, and I suppose Gaelic for Mothers and Others is going to form part of that particular webinar. So we'll move along. So Fáilte Rómh, my name is Vinny Whelan. I'm National Development Officer for Growth and Participation, and I'm going to be co-presenting this evening with William Harmon, who is the National Development Officer for Coach Education. And this webinar came about as the result of William's engagement with the Gaelic for Mothers and Others Programme over the years, and his love of coach education. And I suppose he came to me as the administrator for Gaelic for Mothers and Others with the idea, and we just took, you know, pardon the pun, but we took the ball and ran with it. So we hope that you enjoy this evening. You have a varied presenting team, and so far as I'm a Dub and Williams from Kerry. Between us in the last 3 years, our counties have won 3 All-Irelands. That would be 3 to Dublin and none to Kerry. Sorry, William. I'm sure he'll get me back later on the webinar for that one. So we'll get started into the main body of the actual presentation. So you're all here, I suppose, this evening because you understand the Gaelic for Mothers programme, Gaelic for Mothers and Others programme. You are engaging in it, or you want to engage in it, you want to learn more about it. So I suppose I'm going to use the first section of this webinar to really explain and reinforce what we do. And then after I'm finished with that, we will look at some evidence-based research that we have done, and we will also then get into the main body of it, which is the coach education piece that William is going to look after. Okay, so the purpose of the programme is to introduce mothers and other women to ladies Gaelic football. And I suppose a lot of ladies Gaelic football is the fastest growing sport in the country, and I suppose a lot of ladies growing up wouldn't have had the opportunity to play it. So this really gives people an outlet to get on a pitch and express themselves and have fun where they didn't have that opportunity before. I suppose it aims to increase physical activity for participants 25 and over and who are not registered with the Ladies Gaelic Football Association. So you cannot be a pre-registered player within that calendar year. So it's a unique social programme. It's not for registered players. And it aims to create a social outlet for women in the community where one might not have existed before, where maybe you were the parent of a player who went and stood on a sideline on a Saturday morning. Well, it's not just for your children to play or your niece or nephew to play anymore, or the child that you're a guardian for to play. Gaelic football is there for you to play as well, and for you to enjoy the same fun in the same environment as they do, a fun, inclusive one. And I'll speak a little bit more about that later on. The programme overview. So we start off, any new club starting off, and anybody here who is part of an established club will already know that you take part in the 6-week trial period, that there's no fee for it. You just kind of turn up, advertise throughout your area and make sure that you have a cohort of ladies ready to get out and have some fun, and give it a 6-week trial period. After the 6-week trial period, if you wish to continue, then you must register as a Gaelic4Mothers&Others participant. That cost is €12 per year. I don't know of any other sport or activity around the country where it is only €12 per year to partake in it. So you would do that through your club registrar or through your club secretary, and they would register you as a Gaelic4Mothers&Others site. To give you a bit of a flavour, the last time I checked, we had 320 registered clubs around the country. So it has grown exponentially. Last year, there was 89 new clubs that were formed. It takes place over 6 to 8 week session blocks, which is what we advise, to kind of give the body a break, to give the mind a break. And to give it a bit of structure. At the end of the day, it is a programme, it's not a season. And then we have the provincial and national blitzes. Unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic and crisis this year, we haven't had our provincial blitzes, and the national blitz most likely 95% will not take place this year. So we are looking at alternatives for that, and we are going to be in discussions with obviously the government, the HSE, on what type of mass gatherings we are allowed to have going forward. So we're really working through that at the moment, and I'm racking my brain trying to come up with alternatives, but we just have to wait and see how the situation pans out nationally and how it progresses. And in terms of personal injury cover, as per our Congress in 2020, it is now compulsory, and all the details of the insurance are all on our website on ladiesgaelic.ie. Find the Gaelic4Mothers&Others section. And recently, myself and the National Development Manager, Lynn Savage, we created some videos to guide you through and talk you through all of those different aspects of, from setting up to injury, to personal injury cover to registration. So all those videos are there, new videos to guide you through the session or through the sections. So the ethos of the program, it's a very, very unique program. There's only, as far as I know, there's only one program like it, and that's New York. It's Zog Soccer, and it's actually hugely, it's grown hugely popular. This is so unique to this small little island that we have, that it kind of, the growth figures back up what it is. It's fun, it's for the community, it's for everybody. So, but at the base of all of that is the ethos, and I suppose underpinning everything is the ethos of it. So it's an ethos of fun. It's an ethos of a place where people come to enjoy themselves. It's a place where people come to meet their friends once a week or twice a week and be social. And so that moves me on to my next one. It has to be a social environment. It's not stringent. It's not uniformed. People come up, they express themselves on the pitch. They express themselves to their friends, and they really feel that this is a place where they belong and that they can come to be themselves and part of a group. No scores, no winners, no finals, no cups are permitted, because that is the strength of the program. It's social. It's a social program. Be cognizant of language used and game reports online. It was something that was highlighted to me last year. I'm in the role a year now, and very early on it was highlighted to me. I was sent screenshots of Facebook pages where there was cups and stuff like that being given out. realistically, if you are a participant that is looking for that and still has that competitive edge or wants to play competitive football, we like in the LGFA, we would love nothing more for you to go and establish maybe another junior team, or link back in with your intermediate or senior team if that's what you want to do. But what underpins the success of this program is the ethos of being non-competitive and being out there and understanding that you're out on the pitch with maybe 10, 12, 14 other ladies who are there to have fun and enjoy themselves. They're not there for competition. We'd rather lose the one player who is there for competition than lose the other 20 who may be on the pitch at the same time, because they've ruined it for everybody else on there. And I suppose coaches need to be cognizant of that as well, that directive or that theme is not running through their coaching, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But we like, if there is football there for you, if you are a competitive person, if you have that competitive streak, and you just go to your club and say, I'd love to set up another junior team. But if you're not, and you want to have that fun social environment where you're just enjoying being on a pitch and running around with your friends, well, then Gaelic4Mothers&Others is the place for you to stay. So again, just to give an overview of how we are actually doing, how our club's doing nationally. This was part of a survey that was carried out in 2018, late or early into 2019. And we collated all the results, and it really gives us a bird's eye view of what's going on nationally. So the duration of the programme in clubs nationally, less or equal to 3 months, was only 9%. And I suppose there's possibly some clubs that maybe only look to entering the provincial blitz or the national blitz, or maybe meeting up once a month or whatever, and that's not even once a month or once quarterly or something like that, and that's their own prerogative, and they're free to enjoy the program. I suppose what jumps out at us most there is that it's 4 to 7 months seems to be the predominant one, and all year round, I suppose, as well, is just something to be mindful that if you are taking part all year round, that the more you play, the more people tend to become competitive. So just be cognizant of that if it is all year round and you're tending to play matches, and you're more than the recommended 1 a month or 2 a month, then you really need to look at what you're doing. Maybe I would say probably somewhere between the 4 to 7 months to 8 to 10 months is probably the more recommended one. The all year round one, though, taken into consideration, that might possibly be that people are doing other activities that are maybe not part of the Gaelic4Mothers&Others programme outside. But I am keen to stress that the Gaelic4Mothers&Others programme is on the pitch. So the frequency of teams training, and again, this is just to give us a bird's eye view of things, of how things are nationally. And again, we'll get into the nitty gritty of the actual coaching a little bit later on. So teams that only play games or blitzes was 0%. We actually had 5 yeses on that, but it didn't, unfortunately with the numbers who responded, it didn't even make 1%. So once a week was 77%. And I suppose that's what we recommend. We recommend that there's maybe 4 occasions a month, and that the majority be internal training, and with the maximum being 2 games. Don't like calling the matches 2 games, where you are having a day out and playing multiple teams, or else just another team. And 1 to 2 times a week again. The recommended is once a week, and I suppose people need to just be mindful of that and try and keep it to the once a week. Okay. So combining the development strands. So what we did was, and again, I alluded to this at the start, myself and William had a conversation a few months ago, and we had a discussion then with Lynn about it, and we felt that there was something missing from the Gaelic4Mothers&Others programme, and the coach education jumped out straight away, that there was no coach education. It seemed to be slightly ad hoc within clubs. So we thought to ourselves, what if we married a growth and participation programme, which is Gaelic4Mothers&Others, which would come under my remit, and coach education, which will come under William's remit. And you'll hear from William in the next couple of minutes. And what we hope that will produce is a more successful, appropriate and fun overall experience for everybody. The key people here, and the most important people, are the participants. And the participants need to be able to have appropriate activities to ensure that they're gaining maximum experience from being on the pitch. If there's a coach that thinks that they're a drill sergeant and hasn't, gone and done any coaching courses, or is turning up and asking the ladies to do 50 laps of the pitch. That's not going to work, and you'll quickly find that the ladies themselves will start to drift off, and you won't have a group after maybe 3 or 4 weeks, because that's not playing football, that's not having fun, and that's not giving somebody the overall experience that we want to give them. So before I hand over to William in a second, just wanted to give you an idea of where we see both the programme and the participants fitting in. So suppose in the LGFA we have coach education DNA, so to speak. We try and cover as many different areas and aspects of football as possible, and you can see there one of the aspects is a referee pathway. Maybe you're sitting at home and you're thinking, I'm playing Gaelic for Mothers and Others, and geez, I'd like to get involved in refereeing. It's there for you. I have in there the webinar series. We have our fundamentals coaching course, Ready Steady Coach. We can go all the way up to level 2, but that's for the participants. And maybe you might be sitting at home thinking, yeah, look, I'd like to get involved in that at club level. So they are there for you to take advantage of, and you just maybe need to speak to somebody within your club or consult our website. And again, we'll speak about that a little bit later on. But also for the program itself. So now with this course tonight in this webinar, Gaelic for Mothers and Others now takes its place in our coach education DNA in the Ladies Gaelic Football Association. So it now sits with as important as any other program that we have, and we hope to maybe take that on a little bit further, add in more webinars, become more specific to the needs of each participant and of the program itself. So it's in there. It sits now with our Gaelic for Teens program, with our Gaelic for Girls program, and just to ensure that everybody who takes part in the program knows how important the program is in the grander scheme of things. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague William Harmon, and I will be jumping back in later on.
Thanks, Vinny. Just one question there from Laura. You can type it into the Q&A. I suppose a club that would like to register for Gaelic for Mothers, and they're not actually an LGFA club, and they don't have an LGFA club in their area, but they have a GA club. So maybe if you just type in your email there, Vinny, and also the details. I know all the details on the website for Laura to probably contact you after regarding the process there, because there's a process there available for everyone. So if you want to just answer on the Q&A, no problem there, Vinny. Okay. How are you, everyone? William Harmon's my name. I hope you're not laughing at my earphones. I'm down here in Kerry, and my reception ain't the greatest, so hopefully you can all hear me. My remit in ladies football is coach education, and I suppose this angle is going to look at the whole area of the coaching side of things for Gaelic for Mothers and Others. And this is really for if you have a coach. So I know there's coaches on here tonight. So I know there's coaches on here tonight that are involved with Gaelic for Mothers and Others. I know there's probably players or participants here who are also the coach in the Gaelic for Mothers club. So hopefully so we can give you some insight as well. And also there's probably clubs here that's going to be looking at identifying coaches over the coming weeks. So hopefully this few slides we're going to cover now will help you, just give you an insight on, I suppose, the coaching approach to Gaelic for Mothers. So tonight we're going to look at how can you effectively engage Gaelic for Mothers and Others in your coaching sessions, your participants, and how do you meet their needs and interests throughout the program. And I suppose what we're trying to do here, guys, is that I suppose we're trying to maintain participation. We have massive numbers in Gaelic for Mothers and Others. So how do we keep that going? Because Gaelic for Mothers now is a very important part of our player pathway because it's active for life. So it's very important. So Vinny, if you just want to move it on there for a minute. Transition. So we're going to look at 3 key areas, okay? We're going to look at the why. So why are your participants, why are people coming to Gaelic for Mothers? The coaching approach, so what kind of coaching approach would be best for Gaelic for Mothers, and then the what in terms of activities. I suppose if I give you my own background, 10 years ago, if you asked me, I suppose the what would have been the biggest thing. The latest drills, the fancy drill. That was what I thought coaching was about. I need to have a different drill every session. I need to really, but through my experience with Gaelic for Mothers, with ladies football, a coach with underage players at ladies football and men's and teenage players and adult players, and also Gaelic for Mothers, coaching Gaelic for Mothers, I just kind of reflected on what I was going about. And Liam Moggan, a former Sport Ireland, he kind of always said to me, coaching is about helping people develop social skills and interacting with each other. And it just got me to think differently. And so I started thinking more about, well, why are people coming to our sessions? Now that I have a better understanding of why, then maybe my approach needs to be different. So 10 years ago, I would have done the exact same coaching approach as I would have done for the teenage girls as I would have done for Gaelic4Mothers and Others. I would have done the same with the boys as I did with the girls. But now, because of experience, making loads of mistakes, and also research, I get just better understanding that, you know what, the how you go about your business is probably more important than what. But look, we'll go through it and we'll see how we get on. Off you go, Vinny. So we've just gone back, I'd say, are we? Vinny loves his transitions, so fair play. So look, in the chat function, what I want you to do is, just briefly, if I was to ask you, from your experience, whether it be a coach or a player, in Gaelic4Mothers and your observations, what have you learned from a coaching perspective? What's important from a coach's perspective in relation to Gaelic4Mothers and Others? What are your observations? Just throw it into the chat function, and Vinny will monitor it for me, and we'll take it from there. So Vinny, you can let me know what's coming back as we see it.
Okay, William, we have some answers coming in there. Inclusivity.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura. Inclusivity seems to be popping up quite a bit. Covering all abilities, levels of ability again. So somebody who's an ex-county player to somebody who just likes to kick a ball, coming in thick and fast, trying to keep up here. Let me see here. Communication. Players like to be challenged, not assumed that they are old and useless. Definitely not. None of our participants are old and useless. Levels of ability from all players. To cover all abilities. Plenty of fun. Keep everybody involved. Talking everyone seriously, but not too seriously. Again,
that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. So it's wide ranging. It's wide ranging. And thank you very much. I can see them coming through here. So Vinny, if we move on, let's see what the research is saying. Let's see what the research is saying. So we have two studies here, guys. One was done in 2018 with our Gaelic4Mothers participants. So we asked, why are you getting involved and why you stay involved? Another one was done by Shauna White in 93 in our final year project with Gaelic4Mothers sites. Just give a look at what the screen. So if we just go back there a second, Vinny, before we move it on. So just going to give you 10 seconds just to give a look at this. So these are the key things that they were saying. So social fitness, kids involved, mental health, community involved. Do you want to move it on, Vinny? This is what they're saying. This is what participants are saying. They're saying these are the key reasons why they're going to get involved. So if I can summarize it for you, the key aspects that you see is social interaction. It's the key to attracting and retaining our Gaelic4Mothers and Others. Very important. They say that the enjoyable opportunity of Gaelic4Mothers and Others, the opportunity for social interaction, for fun, for friendship, they're the key common motivation factors. And vitally important in terms of how we plan our coaching sessions, these are in terms of that. Another one come back was the program structure and the non-competitive element. And our participants are saying that the relaxed atmosphere puts no pressure on players. It's a kind of a calmer approach. It allows players to make mistakes. It allows players to play the game and, in a large extent, have fun, meet new people, but also be challenged. We have a lot of Gaelic4Mothers and Others who've never played the game before. So to even kick a ball is a challenge. To even be able to kick the ball over the bar is a challenge, but it's an enjoyable challenge, okay? And it's important that this competitive element and non-competitive, and the competitive element is very important. We need to know the why. They say the Gaelic4Mothers is an opportunity to be physically active in a supportive community activity. So what I'm saying here is feel good. And think about this. Your Gaelic4Mothers and Others participants are coming in. They might have a lot of things going on in their lives, but for that hour, they just want to get away from everything. So feel good. And they say that Gaelic4Mothers and Others stimulates, I suppose, important to stay active outside of Gaelic4Mothers and Others, okay? So they say that community aspect, Gaelic4Mothers enables women to participate in sport and to push their boundaries. So as I said, a lot of women getting involved in Gaelic for Mothers may be the first time in the sport. So they're out of their comfort zone. Research shows that family is vitally important, that family support and encouragement is key social influencer to enable women to participate in our game. But the key one is, and this is important, is the coach. The coach in Gaelic for Mothers and Others is highly respected individual because the participants see the commitment and the dedication that they're doing. And in some sites, it could be a player doing the coaching as well. They highly respect you. Your peers highly respect you. And all the participants highly respect the coach. So it makes them an influential figure in terms of keeping activities or participants involved. You are a key influential figure. Okay, Vinny? So we're going to move it on. So now that we have a generalized idea of the why, how does that affect the how we coach now? So think about what I said earlier on, the what was everything to me 10 years ago. But now if we can understand of why the participants are in front of us, how does that influence how we coach? Okay, let's look at this. I'm going to go through two coaching approaches. And what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to explain briefly what they are. And then I'm going to ask you, after briefly explaining them, which coaching approach do you feel is most applicable to Gaelic for Mothers and Others? I want to also highlight is that there's no one size fits all. There's times when different approaches will apply. But let's see what this says. This is research. What works best? So the andragogical approach and the pedagogical approach. The andragogical is where the coach is a facilitator. They facilitate learning. So they are the coach that has an ability to respond to the inquisitive nature of the participants in Gaelic for Mothers. I'll come back to that in a minute, because a lot of Gaelic for Mothers participants are very inquisitive. They want to know why. Provision for self-directness. So, let them, see what works best for the participants. Let them decide what works best for them. And recognition of intrinsic motivation. What I mean by that is that the participants involved in Gaelic for Mothers are doing something without any obvious reward. So they're doing it because they enjoy it, because they're interested. And then there's the pedagogical, which is teaching, very much telling. I'm the coach and you're the participants. So I'm going to give you the information, you do the activity. You limit autonomy so their independence is less. The players are doing what the coach says and they're making all the decisions for the players, even the blitz day even. Telling the players where to go, what to do, when to do it. The coaches are extrinsically motivated. So they're probably there for a different reason, for a bit of praise. They want to get the tap in the back, or they're looking for that, we're going to win the 3 games in the blitzes, or whatever it may be. So they're reward driven, if that makes sense. And then the competitive motives of the coach is more important than the commitment of the players, or more important than the bigger picture of what we're trying to achieve. So in the chat function, listening to that brief overview, and I'll go into this in more detail shortly, which coaching approach do you feel is more applicable to Gaelic for Mothers and Others based on that brief overview? Is it just type in 1 for option 1 and type in 2 for if you think it's to option 2? Off you go. So I see it coming through, and I think Vinny, it's excellent. Well done. So I suppose research
fairly unanimous there, will you?
Fairly unanimous. So research is showing that adults, guys, and this is interesting, prefer coaching approach in line with the key learning principles of the andragogical model. Okay, it shows that adults yearn to take responsibility for their own development. They want to leverage the wealth of their knowledge. They have so many stories to tell. They have so much experience. And they want to take ownership of how to improve. So if we want to move on, Vinny, well done, everyone. You got it right. Fair play. Number 1. So think about, is your coach on that path? Are you as a player coach coaching in that area? Let's see, can we tease this out a bit more? So the key learning principles I'll go through and how it applies to Gaelic for Mothers in a few minutes, but here they are. Players need to know. What I mean here is, all Gaelic for Mothers participants, they say the participants, is that they want to know why before engaging learning. Why? They want to know why. They want to share control over the learning process. What I mean by that is, they want to know what session you're conducting. They want to know, what we learned today. They want to know, why are we doing these activities? So the big word is why. That inquisitive nature. And I'll go into that in more detail shortly. The self-concept of the player. What I mean by that is the ownership. Ownership of their own learning is what I mean by that. They will decide what approach they will take to learn something new. And I'll give you an example of that in your Gaelic4Mothers session shortly, okay? A lot of Gaelic4Mothers participants are not forced to be there. They chose to be with you. So therefore, they will decide how they will learn and what route they go or what pace they go at. Very interesting. Prior experience of the player. What I mean here is, right, the participants in Gaelic4Mothers&Others have a plethora of experiences. Plethora, loads. But that could impact learning. It could be positive or negative. So you could have past players involved, but they might have developed bad habits. Okay, so that's interesting, okay? You might have players involved who never played a game before, but having maybe a few preconceptions. Okay, so that could resist new learning. So just something to be aware of, but I'll go through it in more detail from a Gaelic4Mothers context. Readiness to learn. Something in all Gaelic4Mothers lives has caused them to get involved. It could be to get fit. It could be to learn a new skill. It could be to meet new people. It could be their daughter could be involved with the girls' team in the club. And you know what? I want to learn more about ladies football. So there's just something happening in their life that might gauge them your direction. Orientation to learning. What we mean by that is that problem solving. I'll go through this later on in terms of your activities. They like to be involved in the problem solving. So we have an issue. How do we problem? This is from the context of football. So we want to get the ball over the bar, but it's breaking down. Well, what's happening? And they want to be involved in that process. And then the motivation to learn. How can we help them in some way in their lives in relation to the advance of the game? How can we make them better footballers in terms of kicking the ball? A bit fitter, a bit more tactical awareness of the game and the psychosocial interaction. So let's go through that in more detail before we move on. So Vinny, moving on. So the basis of this approach, if you go down the andragogical pathway, the facilitation of the coach, and think about this, what I mean by facilitator is that if you step back, it should still go ahead. Think about the blitz day. There's no coach there. Would it still run? Possibly would. So it individualizes participants' learning because of the variety of participation motives. If you go down the route of that kind of, andragogical format, and it will engage and motivate the learning environment for your participants. Okay, let's see what it looks like now in a Gaelic4Mothers context. So let's look at the first one. The first one being the need to know. Okay, so yeah, you can move on there, Vinny. So what will we see the players? We will see the players seeking a wealth of knowledge from the coach. They're going to be asking you, they're very inquisitive. Why are we doing this? What kind of session are we doing? I don't really like that activity. I like that one, but I don't like that one, okay? And they're deliberate. So they're looking at seeking that. They're looking for you as a coach. You've got all the answers, okay? They're deliberators. What I mean by that is they actively seek information from the coach. So they'll actively seek. If they have a question, they'll ask you. So we find in Gaelic4Mothers, they'll ask. Whereby if you're coaching underage, they probably won't ask as actively as an adult player in Gaelic4Mothers. So what should you as a coach do, which is the essence? Be engaged in collaborative planning process. So what I'm saying to you is, get a few of the Gaelic4Mothers and ask them, look, how are you finding the sessions? What would you like to learn? What activities do you like doing? What activities do you not like doing? What do you like a bit more of, less of? Tell me. Engage them in the process. Engage them, because they like that. They like that. Engage activities that are relative to the game. Validate your approach. So you're validating, we're doing these games because this is going to help us when we play our football. Because the women will ask you, why are we doing this? What's this about? And I remember coaching Gaelic4Mothers, and that was constant. Like, oh, I'm not doing this. Tell me, why are we doing this? And they've no problem telling you. No problem. Be specific now. This is important. So if you're, say, doing the solo, then just be specific in your information. Iron the ball head, drop the ball to your left hand, and point your toe up. That's all they need to know. Whereby if you're coaching underage, you might go a bit more in your explanation and give more information. But all you do is give the ladies specific information. If they need more information, they'll ask you. They will ask you. So be specific, okay? So we move on to the next one. And the next one being, I think, is self-concept, am I right in saying? And interesting here. So the self-confidence. So being capable of self-directness, and this is interesting, this will come to the bits and it's interesting. So being capable of self-direction, autonomous in decision-making due to their maturity. So they're more mature, they can take more independence, you know, they can self-direct where they're going. So create situations that provide players a self-guide or shift from the dependency on the coach to themselves. So I'll take the blitz for example. I have no problem saying, but I'm sure a lot of the participants will tell you where they want to play, how long they want to play for, where they will play, you know, and as a coach, you probably have all your sheet and your team laid out. And like, no, my God, no, I don't want to play there at all. I want to play here. Or, you know, I only want to play for 10 minutes. Or they might even put their hand and go, I'm done now, take me off. So provide that, whereby you're facilitating that, whereby, you know, they're involved and they have no problem telling you where they can self-direct. Where sometimes as a coach, you're going here, you're going there. When we know maybe that doesn't work in this context. Be collaborative in your conversation. Keep asking questions, okay? Keep asking questions. Ted, tell me, how do you find this activity? Explain to me, what's your role now? You're cornerback today now, what's your role? Describe to me what are we trying to do here? You're constantly seeking that two-way feedback with our participants. Let players do whatever works for them. I think this is very good. So you think about your Gaelic4Mothers&Others session, okay? So you want to get the run around the cone and kick a point, okay? They have to run around the cone and kick a point. But 3 of them decide to fall short of the cone and kick the point before the cone. Now you said to them, no, go around the cone and kick a point. But no, they keep going short of the cone and kicking a point. They, as a coach, you say, what works for them? What works for them? They're still doing the same activity, but it works for them. Some of the players will appreciate your guidance, then will value it. Others will take on board, but they'll do what works for them. And that's okay. Be flexible in your approach to training. You would have a planned, organized training plan. But you might have one activity where they might go, we don't like that. We don't like that activity. Come on, can we do another activity? So be in your mind to be flexible to that. And don't take it as a personal criticism. You know, it's just that they're more mature and they're able to voice their concerns and thoughts, whatever. So don't, just be flexible. Okay, we won't, look, we'll stop that. We're not enjoying that. We'll go on to something else, okay? So we'll move on to the next one. Hope I'm not going too fast for people. Prior experiences for the player. So that's, as I said, that past experience may impact how adults seek to learn, and that volume and quality could be a rich resource for learning, but also could impact it. So some will find it hard to change their habits. They might have built up poor habits because of prior experience, but there's a lot of Gaelic4Mothers&Others guys that have never played the game before. So they mightn't have the motor experience, even running, jumping, landing, catching, okay? So the advice I give to you here is focus on the current learning. Don't go to memory, because if you go to memory, the bad habits will come into play. So what I mean by here is, if a girl is doing, or a player is doing a solo, then what you do is, how to focus on current learning is you say to her, explain, what are we doing here? Oh, we're doing the solo. Right. Now, and she's dropping the ball with the opposite hand to the opposite leg, say, okay? Go, well, why are you doing that? Oh, I think I'm solo. I'm dropping the ball with the opposite hand to the opposite leg. You might say, well, how do you think we can do better? Maybe do 2 hands, or maybe drop with the left hand. Okay, excellent. Now, how do you think we can do that? So you're working with the individual to achieve the success of what you're trying to do, but you're focusing on the current of what you're seeing in front of you, rather than memory, or maybe you've never played the game before. Okay, Vinny, nearly there now. Vinny loves his transition, so it's coming now, Vinny, it's coming, yeah, excellent. So the readiness to learn. Players, this will be dependent on 2 things. This is important. The time they can attend and their coachability. What I mean by coachability is the ability to focus on and take on advice that you're giving them as a coach. You have to understand that players will have other personal obligations and non-sporting responsibilities that will prohibit regular attendance. But when they're there, they'll give 100%. They'll give 100% when they're present, because they're very good at goal on their goals, what they want to do. They're very good at managing time. So they'll be there, they'll give it to you because they know that I'm here, I'm going to give 100% to this. But they respect you, the coach. And if you're a player coach, they respect you big time, have huge respect for you, for what you're doing, your commitment and your dedication. So what should you do here as a coach? Don't worry if there's sporadic attendance. It's not a personal reflection on you, okay? And don't question that. So what I'm saying is, for example, if you have a blitz coming up, like, going down the route of, you've got to be at training to play the blitz. Like, that doesn't really wash and get it from others. It doesn't, because they'll turn up when they can turn up. And it's important to think of that, because football is probably one of many priorities in their lives. And they have a lot of reasons, as I said, health reasons, fitness reasons, they have different ages, different abilities. So just be mindful of that. Football is not everything within the session either. Create learning situations that support learning needs and bridge that gap. So the activities you do are helping them get better at what they've identified. So I would ask, even in the next few weeks, ask all your Gaelic4Mothers and others, why are you here? In 6 weeks' time, when we're finished, when we've done our 6 sessions, what would you like to do by the end of 6 weeks? Ask them. That information would be huge to you, because you now know that Mary's here because fitness, Joan is here because she wants to improve her kick passing, Mary's here because she wants to meet other people, and it'll help you then plan and structure sessions accordingly. But also it'll help you be individual with them over, because then you have evidence in 6 weeks' time. Say, listen, 6 weeks ago you couldn't kick the ball. Now look at you. Wow. And I'll come to that in more detail in a minute. Second last one is the whole area of orientation of learning. So Vinny is coming with it. Excellent, Vinny. So players will learn better when they understand how learning can help them with a problem or improve a personal weakness. Going back to my point I had earlier on. So we're doing this activity, guys, to help us, get a better understanding of spatial awareness or kick passing or high catch, okay? So what should you do? You should include problem-solving orientation in your sessions. That sounds very fancy. But how simplistic is that? Basically, what you're doing is, if you're playing an activity, all right, stop the session, as I say, empower, stop the session and ask them, well, what are we doing here? What do you think we're trying to achieve? Tell me. What is the issue? So we're all bunching in the corner. Why is that? Why are we all bunching in the corner? Okay, what can we improve? And go through it step by step, and then go back and play the game again and see can you improve. So that problem solving of orientation. But you empower your players by asking those open questions, stopping activities. I would always recommend, if you're playing a game, stop the game. Ask them, what are the issues we're seeing and how can we solve them? Prepare for up and coming events. And what I mean by this is, you could have a blitz coming up. And there may be some of your participants that they don't have the confidence, or they feel they don't know what to do because they've never played the game before. They say, oh, I leave off the blitz. Look, I've never played before. I don't think I'd be. So therefore you prepare that person. So you play your games. You show them where the positions of the field are. You show them what the role is. But I would say, as a coach, you shouldn't focus on trying to win your 3 games in the blitz. You should focus on, right, if that player is nervous, then you go up and say, listen, come here, tell me. Look, forget about the game. Forget about if we win 2 or 3 games. Don't worry about that. That's grand. But tell me, what would you like to get out of it? I'd love to score a point. Okay, right. That's 1. I'd love to, catch the ball 5 times in the game. Great. Now, it has really brought back the bigger macro level to a very individual level. Okay, so if she catches the ball 5 times in a game, wow, what a success. And it makes her easier in what she's trying to achieve, and she also gets personal satisfaction out of that. So the last one, I'll just wrap it up then, is the whole area of motivation to learn. Okay? And goals will vary, as I highlighted. Some will be short-term, as Vinny said. This is the point I make here, is that I would recommend big time that your coaching sessions should be done in kind of blocks. I think 6 sessions over 1 week, over 6 weeks, take a break, come back and do another 6, rather than do it throughout the year or over long, because the motivation will change, will dip, and will get higher and get lower. To keep motivation high, I would recommend keep it short, snappy, specific. Okay? They view you as the motivator. They're looking for you to, give them that appraisal, that feedback, to say, listen, you're doing okay. So what should you do as a coach? Foster that community atmosphere in training. Remember I said earlier on about the community aspect, that promotes more female participation. That's key. Give feedback depending on their right from the practice. So give them feedback, specific feedback. Well done, Mary. That was a good kick pass. Good head down. Well done. Keep working on that. And give them that motivating feedback. Recognize by, they're calling out their name in a session while they're doing an activity. Give them that specific feedback. That's good. Keep your head down. Go again. Engage in friendly conversations. What I mean by that is, there's more to Gaelic mothers in football. Ask about how's life going, how are things going, how they find the sessions, how have they gone this week, how was their day. Think about the importance Gaelic mothers has in people's lives. Go back to the reasons why they're involved. Some are there because, maybe for health reasons, maybe for fitness reasons, maybe for social reasons. Just think about that. Find out personal goals. So again, find out why they're there, and then you help them achieve those goals. So a girl mightn't be able to kick the ball at the start of Gaelic mothers, but she might be able to kick the ball at the end of it. Wow, that's success. And praise them when they do something well. I suppose praise is only good when it's I suppose meant. Or when sometimes as coaches will go, well done, keep it going, well done. But sure, Mary might have kicked the ball wide 12 times. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is really, if she kicks the ball over the bar, so her goal was to kick a point, and she kicked it once, that's when you give real good feedback and real good praise. That's the key to it. Okay. So just to wrap up, I'm just going to wrap it up. So what key, they're coming out of there. They're coming in about 2 minutes. Oh, excellent. So if you're a coach currently, or if you're looking for a coach in Gaelic for Mothers, or you are a player coach, these are the key attributes and characteristics we would advocate for Gaelic for Mothers. We're not saying it's the definitive, we're saying we're advocating that the autonomous supportive coach. Give a bit of autonomy to your players. Involve them in the planning. Involve them in the decision making. Involve them in the, finding out the problem solving. And be supportive. A lot of them are nervous. They've never played the game before. A lot have played the game before, they might be more confident. So it's important you're supportive. That loyalty and commitment is huge because you're highly respected. Okay, and engage in ongoing, always look to improve and develop and get better. Your behaviors, as I said, provide that feedback, having those structured sessions, but being flexible as well. And those sessions are within the ethos of the program, which is vitally important, okay? That ethos, that fun, that social interaction, and Vinny will go through how a session looks like in a minute. And then framing those practical situations to prepare them for up and coming blitzes. As I said, not all your participants will be comfortable. So you just kind of help them to ease that. So when they do go up into blitz, they feel more comfortable. But take away the macro focus in terms of winning the blitz game or whatever and go individual. So to finish off with myself, really what we're saying is become a player-centered learning coach. So go beyond the skill development, go beyond the game, go beyond developing the person. Coaching is about people, coaching people to be better people. And you've got great people in Gaelic for Mothers, the best. They're the best. So that's social affiliation. People are involved because they may have health concerns and the ability to perform and be valued. You as a coach is a huge influencer. You're a huge influence in all this. So I hope those few tips and ideas gave you, just from a coaching approach angle. And as we move on, then we can look at the other stuff. But I just think understanding the why and then adapting how you coach is probably key to your success as coaching and Gaelic for Mothers. Okay, so Vinny.
Thanks a million for that, William. Absolutely brilliant section to our presentation this evening. So what I'm going to move on to now is, I suppose, the more practical element and end to it, and how what William has spoken about fits in to how you might structure your session. And again, this is all open to interpretation. Each club is unique, each group is unique, each participant is unique, and I suppose William touched on a lot of that through his section. So thank you very much for that, William. Okay, so as part of our national survey that we did, we had some very interesting findings. And again, this is a bird's eye view, I suppose, of what are we coaching. So at the time that the survey was taken, I suppose the thing that jumps out at us there is that 34% of all sessions involve drills. There's nothing wrong with drills in terms of an initial introduction to a skill. However, it should not take up 34% of a session if you want people to be having fun. Drills involve lines, and I suppose if you want to stand in a line, you should go to Tesco to do your shopping rather than go to a training session to have fun, because that's essentially what drills are. They're monotonous standing in lines waiting for your turn. So I suppose they do have a place as a very, very early introduction, but they should not form the vast majority of your training session. So I suppose what I've done over the next few slides, and I suppose looking at it there, it's very important to note that we do have the hugely important elements of full games, fun games, and physical fitness. And I suppose I'll speak about physical fitness in a little bit more detail in a couple of minutes, because that in itself has its own element or place in a training session. So what should we be coaching? So we've looked at what the survey returned, what we are coaching nationally. So what should we be coaching? I suppose, and what we're looking at here, at the center of everything that we do and the center of this program is fun and friendship. And that should underpin absolutely everything that we do. So in terms of every element that you see on the perimeter there, you should involve fun and friendship in everything. So I suppose I'll speak about these in a little bit more detail in a second, and I've broken them down into the structure of a session. So if you just have a look at them there and take them all in before we move on, and then I'll show you just maybe a sample layout that we could possibly use in a session. So we really want to speak about the importance of these elements and trying to contain as much as you can. Obviously, your maximum 60 minutes to a session. So you really want to try and incorporate as much of this into it as possible. And again, with the collaboration and with the assistance of the participants themselves, as William spoke about there. So what does a session look like? And again, this is open to interpretation. This is for you to maybe take away a few ideas and have a look at it yourself and maybe say, oh yeah, maybe I could include that in my session. It's not set in stone. So the warm-up and the fun icebreaker, so prepares the body for exercise, I suppose. Elasticizes the muscles, which aids in injury prevention. And I suppose injury prevention is a huge thing that we need to look at in terms of the Gaelic4Mothers&Others programme, because a lot of people may not have taken part in dynamic exercises before, that may have just maybe taken part in athletics when they were younger, where it was just straight line running, where Gaelic football has a lot of twists and turns, jumping, a lot of backwards running and stuff like that. So muscles that may not have been activated before are now becoming activated. And I suppose if you haven't trained in a long time, you go back and do a bit and your muscles are absolutely aching. And I suppose that's because you're activating muscles that you may not have used in a long time or even before. So it's important. And I suppose Cleana's webinar the other night with William kind of highlighted that as well, in terms of even the elite athletes coming back in a phased process and not jumping in and saying, right, we're going to do 100 sprints for our warm-up. So I suppose what we need to look at is injury prevention in terms of making sure that we're nicely warmed up. We ourselves, we worked with a couple of Gaelic4Mothers&Others sites to construct a couple of videos that we're going to be releasing in the coming months, and they're really good exercises as to how you can prepare yourself for a session. There's ones you can do on the side of a pitch, there's one you can do on the pitch, there's ones you can do at home. So we are going to be hopefully releasing those in the next few weeks. It's going to be a huge resource for us to have in terms of injury prevention. The one thing that we do not want are our participants going out there and injuring themselves. It's meant to be fun. Nobody knows better than me, I suppose, how injury can ruin your fun or end your playing days. But it's something that I'm hugely passionate about, and I suppose I would hope every coach out there and participant is passionate about as well. So just keep an eye out for those videos. I'll email them out when they come. I think there's 30 individual exercises that are going to be coming out. So really interesting and fun and exciting endeavour coming up. So what we should also include fun activities, I suppose, and that sets the tone for the session. You even look at the nursery program, and you're starting the session with a game of Stuck in the Mud or Space Invaders or Gauntlet, and they're using their imaginations. But the thing that always stands out is that the volume levels from the group go up. And if it does take something like playing a fun tag game, or maybe you want to reinforce a skill and you play maybe hand pass tag or something like that, but it really sets the tone and everybody feels part of it and included in the session. Skill development and fun game to reinforce. So you may be introducing a new skill or reinforcing a practice skill that you have done previously, and then what you want to do is you want to use a fun game to ensure that participants are using that skill, aiming to make its execution more automatic. So it could be along the lines of maybe a game like I just mentioned, like hand pass tag or no man's land, that would reinforce kicking from the hand. So you really want to look at having a fun game to reinforce the skill development that's always taking place. And as I said earlier, there is a place for drills, but you're talking maximum a minute of somebody doing a monotonous skill just to maybe try and get their head around it. First of all, it might be a skill that they may be new to. So fitness in session, and I need to stress this again, speaking about fitness is not an external component of what we do. It's not a station within training. You're not going to wheel out spinning bikes and put them on the side of the pitch and say to 5 of the girls, right, that's your station. Fitness, I suppose, should be included in the session, in terms of just even running with the ball, in terms of jumping and even crawling exercise, I suppose. And what we're looking at here is we're looking to develop participants' athletic development and movement skills. We're not looking for sprinters, we're not looking for long distance runners, we're not looking for the next Sinead Goldrick or Noelle Healy. What we're looking for is people to improve themselves and to try, and it might be somebody that might be your competitive part of Gaelic for Mothers and Others. You might be in competition with yourself, to really motivate yourself to get up and go because maybe you're sore from the last session. So it's what you can improve in terms of your athletic development and in terms of your movement skills. It's all intrinsic motivation. Our participants' fitness will also aid in their ability to execute the skills of the game with greater ease. Again, fitness can also include flexibility. So if you do maybe stretches at the end of a session, or you might just take a stretch halfway through your game, that improves with somebody's ability to really kick a ball because they're not worried about their hamstring snapping. So flexibility as a component of fitness, and I'm just using that as an example of something that can be used throughout a session. It might be that you have 2 teams racing against each other, and that's your running where you're working on your anaerobic fitness. So it's not, fitness should never be we're going to do a circuit session tonight instead of kicking a ball. That's not what we're aiming towards. Team building exercises. So again, when you're looking for team building exercise, you want to promote teamwork and socialization into a group. Collaboration will elevate the team ethos. So somebody needs to feel part of something. I'm part of this team. I'm part of, I am important to I'm a link in this chain of this exercise that we're doing. They'll provide more fun in a session and also allow participants to feel elevated levels of self-worth. So again, the self-worth is a huge thing because somebody might be new to a group. They might not have huge levels of self-worth. And again, as I just said, just understanding that they are important to that one single exercise that's going on, that can be huge for somebody, and that can really enhance somebody's levels of self-worth. I am part of this group. I am part of this team. I am part of this exercise. The games, so use of 7v7, 9v9, 11v11 and small-sided or conditioned games to allow participants play the game and utilize all the skills acquired. So there's no point in us going out and acquiring skills and doing skill development exercises and then going out and going, right, well, are we playing a game at the end? No, sure, we'll just go home. We have to put these into practice in a game. I suppose we all love to play games, and I suppose I don't like calling them matches. It's a game that you go in and you enjoy, and you encourage all of the participants to utilize all of the skills that they have practiced previously. And this should, and I suppose looking at this is the kind of dichotomy to the drills findings that we had, that this should take up the majority portion of any session. So people want games within the training session. So utilize games. It might be 7v7 where I'm just throwing it out there. It could be hand passing only, kick passing only. You have to have 4 passes before you can score. Throwing in all these different conditions to really make players think about what they're doing. And then cool down and unscripted. I suppose this is a huge part of it as well. So gradual cool down and post stretch facilitates injury prevention and allows the body to slowly return to a steady state. I don't think anybody who's taken part in any training session over the last God knows how long would describe your body as being in a steady state. So really what you need to do is you need to gradually bring your heart rate back down to its normal resting state slowly. It aids in injury prevention. And again, flexibility and in injury prevention. So you're not, missing the program for 6 to 8 weeks, or you're not having a serious injury that puts you out of the program for the year. And then I suppose the last thing is a hugely important aspect of what should be contained in our session as well. So plan one last short, unscripted piece of fun as the last thing players do. Leave a lasting fun impression. A different player each week should be empowered with the task of coming up with this activity. And this is hugely important in terms of, Williams was speaking about players directing certain parts of the way training or a session should go, and engaging with them and really giving them a sense of responsibility and a sense of worth in terms of their importance to a group. So it might be a simple trick of saying, okay, we're going to do one really, really fun activity. It's going to be unplanned. And Sarah, you're going to come back next week, and they might pick up something brilliant and work. They might be on a course or a team building exercise and work, and come back with some incredibly fun exercise that everybody walking off into the car park is absolutely busting their bellies and sides laughing at, and that's the last thing that they remember before they go home. And I can guarantee you, they'll probably go into work, or they'll go out on the road and they'll be telling their neighbours about such fun that they've had, or their neighbour will come out and say, "We're used to laughing getting out of your car. I thought you were off training." And it's the unscripted, the unknown. Players don't know what to expect. So I suppose it's just something that I like to include in the end of my sessions as well. And it just leaves everybody with a fun taste in their mouth going home. How might this look? And again, I'm not going to spend too long on this. This is just a half a pitch. Generally, that's what teams are given. Doesn't matter whether it's Gaelic for Mothers and Others or an under 10s boys team. Usually your club will say, right, you have half the pitch to work on, and sometimes even less. So this was just something that myself and William spoke about in terms of having a look at what way you can structure it, and being able to maybe move in a station format, or maybe move in a group format, or and then central to everything then is the game. And I suppose I just put it across pitch. You can put it lengthways if you want. It's just to give people really an idea about what way you can, because I spoke about all of the elements that you should include. It's not always going to be possible. So if you say tonight, right, we're going to have team building and skill development, and then the game is going to take up the main portion, you're ticking all the boxes there with that format. There's my lovely transitions. I hope everybody's enjoying those at home. And again, just to reiterate that it should be 60 minutes max. Again, a lot of participants are coming back from maybe not playing for years. A lot of them maybe have never played ever before. And some people might only be starting out on their Gaelic for Mothers and Others journey. So keep it to 60 minutes. And again, try not to overkill it. They're not elite inter-county players. So 60 minutes is perfect for any team to be able to include as many elements as possible and go home happy. So I suppose one thing that we were asked by some people in the registration form when we were looking for what you would like to see as content was people were asking, we'd like to see some exercises and some drills and some games. And I suppose, I can coach teams, William can coach teams. We have a bank of exercises. So there was no point in us really coming on here tonight and you sitting there listening to us telling you what you can do. I suppose what we're trying to do here is let you see that there are resources out there, and you can go and have a look and adapt them accordingly, kind of taking into account what you've heard from us tonight and what you've seen from us tonight. So Ladies Gaelic Football Association over the last 10 years has put together huge resources in terms of coaching, and I suppose they're all on ladiesgaelic.ie/learn. So go on there and skill cards. it's very hard to get skill cards from other sports. We openly share them. We think that coaches should be using them, and they're a brilliant resource just for one to three key points to remember, as William said earlier on, and not to overload players with information. So they're going out, right, that's key point 1, key point 2, key point 3, right, off you go, do it, and I'll come back to you later on. So go on to ladiesgaelic.ie, have a look, and take what you want from it, I suppose. And then one of the other resources that we use, I suppose, obviously, we're a partner organisation of the GAA. So in that partnership, we share all of our coaching resources as well, and they share with us. So I suppose, if you look at the GAA, the session planner, if you want there's just a huge bank of exercises that you can use, that you can adapt for your own group, that you can say, okay, right, that looks good. Okay, how can I use that for my participants that I have, and really look at your individuals that you're dealing with. Maybe you might be a participant and your coach might be, off on holiday in Lanzarote for 3 or 4 weeks, and you have to take the sessions. And I suppose this is a good way to look at it and plan your session, and utilize the information that's already there. So before we go, I
suppose there, Vinny, just on that one, and I suppose just going back to the earlier point, no, that's okay, you can keep going to that, is just in terms of the activities, and going back to maybe the point I was saying about the why, the how, and the what, keep it simple. Keep it very simple. Don't overthink the what, because 10 years ago, I probably overcomplicated the what. Now that's very simplistic. I'm actually, how you engage and interact with your players is possibly the most important. How you engage with people. Coaching is about people, and in particular in Gaelic4Mothers and Others, it's really about teaching. Just one thing there, as you go on to the question before we finish up, Vinny, participant asked about how do you, I suppose, include a myriad of experiences. You could have players who play before and players who never played before. What I would do there is, just a suggestion, is you could have a buddy system, whereby the person who's played before could buddy up with a player who hasn't played before, and they could help them and assist them through their developing and their learning. So if you're doing an activity, then that person can assist. Going back to me, I was saying earlier on about taking ownership. Give the ownership to the experienced player to help the player who's not so experienced. Also, how could that look like in a game? So if you have an experienced player and a non-experienced player, then how can you challenge them? So what an example could be, right, the girl who's never played before, you can hop and sew as many times you want. But the girl who has played before, you have one hop and solo. That's it. Or you might have no hop and solo based on how good they are. Or you might say to the player who's doing the kicking drill, right, you can kick off with your right leg. Okay, you're just new to the game, kick off the right leg. Where the girl who's probably played before, you kick off your left leg. Come on, challenge yourself tonight now. Try your best to do it with your left leg. So how you can, that goes down to your planning of your session, knowing your participants and why they're there, and knowing their goals. Okay, and by that then you can plan accordingly. So that's how I would do that in my own session, is the buddy system. It works very well, experienced, non-experienced, and they're working together in pairs in a session to help each other. And then when you're playing the games, how you challenge them accordingly is based on their experience. So the girl who's played before, challenge her off her left side or her non-dominant side. The girl who's never played before, then you can relax the conditions for her. Just a few ideas, okay? Vinny.
Okay, thanks, William. So just before we go, what I would like you to do is I would like you to name one key piece of information you've learned from this webinar. So if you could just type your responses into the chat function there, and we'll have a quick look at them. Coming in thick and fast. Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I like that one there about, Vinny, it's not all about the drills either. It's about, like, sometimes we always focus on the what, and, sometimes the what is probably limited, not as important as the how. Keep it simple. Yeah. I think that's a good one. Yeah, it's good. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. I like the one involve participants, and the TED principle there, I think the TED. So if you want to involve people, asking questions, tell me, explain, describe. If you keep using those open questions, you'll involve more people. Keep it engaging. I like that one.
Should be fun, yeah.
And as you say, the different abilities. As I said, guys, people are involved or have and going back to the readiness to learn. They're there because there's something in their lives that asks them to be there. It might be health, it might be fitness, it might be football, it might be social affiliation. So be understanding that. Short
Yeah.
and precise, yeah. So Vinny, I think there's a good learning. I think they took something on board, so I think we did okay.
I think so. Yeah, it's all about fun. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll minimize that.
So Vinny, do you want to wrap up and just say thank you everyone? And I suppose I just want to say on behalf of myself, thanks everyone. We hope you enjoyed tonight. It's our first time doing the Gaelic for Mothers and Others. Probably look at it from a coaching perspective. We'll probably send out an evaluation the coming weeks to see what more would you like to learn. But I enjoyed tonight, and thank you very much. And I hope you took something from it. So Vinny, over to you for the final word.
Yeah, thank you so much everybody for attending. And thank you so much to Lynn and William for facilitating this. I have the pleasure of dealing with the Gaelic for Mothers and Others participants and coordinators on a daily basis, and for to be able to actually engage with everybody on such a mass level tonight has been an absolute pleasure for me. So thanks to William and Lynn for facilitating this this evening. And look, I suppose the one thing I would say is from this evening, keep it fun, keep it simple, engage with your participants, and if you need anything in terms of coaching resources, we've put them all up there. So I suppose my email address is on the website. If you need any advice, any coaching tips, anything like that, don't be afraid to email me at any point. I'll always get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you very much everybody for engaging with us this evening. We hope to have more webinars going forward, and really engage with the Gaelic for Mothers and Others programme in a coaching and games coach education aspect.